Get Haunted, where you are the investigator. Get Haunted. Paranormal Investigations isn't a show. It's your experience. Join this premier paranormal event company for real investigations at some of the nation's most haunted locations. This isn't a tour. This is hands-on. You'll use real equipment, explore active sites, and dive into the unknown. No scripts, no actors, just you, the gear, and whatever's waiting in the dark. Perfect for both first-timers and seasoned ghost hunters. Each event is guided by experienced investigators. But the discoveries, they're yours to make. 2025 is already jam-packed with incredible locations across the nation. Space fills up fast, so make sure to book your tickets now. Dare to get haunted? Find your next investigation at gethaunted.com.
Oh my God, it's Sunday. It is afternoon, and I think this is a perfect opportunity to, recover from some investigations that may have happened this weekend, or just getting ready and rested for the new week ahead. So here we are, Get Haunted and Horror Road Trip, all getting together with Divination with Dani and having a little chat about something that happened to something little sort of premiered yesterday. Just a little something.
Yeah,
just a little.
It's almost like
something.
I'm just expecting to see the doll sitting in the car seats with you.
Yeah.
Right.
How was Kris? How was that? Because that looked terrifying just watching you drive with them.
It was so awkward. So first I had them in the box, and I was like, it just wasn't visually pleasing to me. And I was like, I have to set it up so that they're in the seats. But then I started recording them because I realized they never did anything when the cameras were on. And I felt like that was my safest bet to get to this place without anything bad happening, because I did not want them in my car. After that night, I did not want them in my car at all.
Yeah. And there's a vibe that comes with them, right? And it's one of those vibes that it creeps in the longer you're around them, and you're just like, oh.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So, for those on the side that have no friggin' idea what we're talking about.
Well, I put it in the banner. It couldn't be more clear.
All right. Thanks for coming, everybody.
That's me. That's for giving me shit about bagels, you two. Oh, he's not going to put himself back up?
Oh, you got to know. Yeah.
It's Sunday. It's a day of rest, a day of recovery. And my business partner can't even be nice for it. We're live 3 minutes and 50 seconds right now.
Yeah. I'm sassy today. Sassy Sunday.
So Kris dropped his video yesterday. If it wasn't abundantly clear to you in her beautiful banner. Kris's video, The Evil 3, came out, or part 1 of The Evil 3 came out, which is essentially a documentary. I call it a documentary about experiences that Dani had, that I shared with her, that Sara had, and then some others. When we finally booted these things out of the house, Kris ended up taking them because, Kris, I didn't really want to drive with these things, but he wanted... he wanted to experience them. I didn't give him too much other than the dolls. He grabbed them, spent a night with them, and it kind of all went sideways from there. So so I don't know who on the side watched it. Probably everybody that's here. But it's so well done, and it's so compelling, and it's so to me, so just so everybody knows, and it might not be clear, Kris interviewed each of us separately. There was no sharing of anything. We were all separate. And the way, for me at least, I don't know, I love the way he did it, the way he pieced us all together to tell the story really kept hey Mike, really kept the story flowing and kept me intrigued because I mean I love listening to myself and watching myself, but having these different voices tell the story, to me was really, really good. And Sophie from the convent's in there. And I am sure, right? I am sure at least, so there's 4 people on here that all had on this show that all had experiences with the dolls. And it's sort of almost like there's 2 different, I don't want to say camps, but camps on this or perspectives. So watching it play out on the movie or film or video, whatever you want to call it, to me was very, very interesting. And it did get me thinking even deeper about something. So anyway, we'll get into it, but really good job, Kris. I mean,
thank you.
Yeah. It from the like the audio, the music, down to the flow of it.
And he took a lot of care to make sure that the story was told properly from everybody's perspective. Like he really did take. You could tell there was a lot of it would care, and you wanted to make sure you got it right.
Well, yeah, I mean, Dani, especially with your story, because you, out of all of us, had the most like impact on it, right? I don't know how you did 2 weeks. I did 24 hours. That was enough. 2 weeks, holy shit! I can't even imagine your pain, right?
And, no, there's a lot that I've not even shared with Rob. I mean, it was a lot, yeah.
And there's things that you said that I didn't realize, like in the interview when you said, because I'm kind of listening and taking notes while you're talking, and so like not all of it stuck like right at the interview, and then when I was editing, I realized certain things were happening to me that you talked about, like still to this day, at the foot of my bed, I keep thinking that the dog got into my room and jumped on my bed, and I feel it on my feet, like the size of like a small object, but right?
Like it like pushes on.
It's heavy, and and it's like how my dog would lay on my feet, right? And then I sit up and I look and I'm like, oh, there's not a dog in here with me. And that continues, and it wasn't until almost like the final edit, like I had that part even in it at that point, and also I'm watching back and I was like, oh my god, that happened. I want to show something too, because I didn't put this in the video, and I'm not going to have it in part 2 because I kind of passed it, but like in the part when I'm laying in the bed and I'm terrified, only thing that finally let me get like that hour of sleep was hanging on to this. And I thought we lost it when we took the stuff to the convent. I thought it was gone. I didn't know. And so I was talking to Boston that night after the convent, and I was like, I don't think I can sleep. I don't have my crucifix that we found with it. I felt safe with it. And I was all worried about it. I went to bed that night. I did end up sleeping. And when I went out to the car the next morning, I got in, sitting on my gas pedal in the car was this.
Wow.
On the gas pedal?
It was on the gas pedal.
I feel like you would have known that was there before.
Right. And so I don't know if it slid out, if it was on my foot when I got out, if it was halfway on the seat. I don't know. But it's been in my car, and now it goes on all my trips with me and sits in that glove box.
That's a little bit, I just want to insert this, that's very interesting that he's had experiences that are similar to Dani's with the same objects, but Rob, the moving of a crucifix is something now that he shares with you because you lost a crucifix during an investigation at MSP.
Do you even know that, Kris?
I found out last weekend. You actually told me. I had not known about that though.
Yeah, I mean that thing literally like just vanished. We had 15 people who witnessed where I put it, and it was just gone, right? And the Missouri State Penitentiary found it about 2 weeks later, I think it was. Post is probably still out there on Facebook somewhere because they posted like, "Hey, if you lost this, get in touch with it." I was like, "Holy shit!" So that's an interesting little similarity there in it. I did also look for me. I'm I'm impressed with, because you had much more profound, the two of you on the bottom here had much more profound experiences with these things than I did or Sara did. You were able to still tell the story, I think, with 98% like even. There's a couple little parts, and we're going to talk about them, where I'm like, see, this is what I love about it, because I hope if people watch this, don't just watch it for the paranormal aspect, right? Look at it as a very it's a very in-depth look at, you know, the perception or the belief systems or what an experience can actually do to you. And Dani, like, I want to be honest, I know because you live with me, and I can see I do feel like that. I think one of the things that it highlights and exposes is when somebody goes through something, they become very, very protective of that experience, especially if it was something that hit you deeply. And I know it did. It's why we even had to talk to get rid of these damn things. And I think that can skew or maybe distort how you perceive that other people perceive your experience, right? And then I found myself thinking, well, goddamn, she knows, right? And all this. I remember like the night things got really dicey here, I remember saying it to you, and I don't know if it registered. And I was like, hey, you know, you remember what happened to me, right? Like, so I was like, does she not take credence in the things I have said over the last few years about my experience? So in a weird way,
I just found that they were two different stories. I didn't want to attach what I was going through to your narrative.
They're so the same. And that's, for me, like, the most intriguing part of all this. I don't even know what part 2 looks like. But it's very, very intriguing to watch you kind of go through things that I went through. And then, you know, years later, for you to, I'm just watching it. So just know, like, I watch it and I'm like, oh my God, like, this is what it was for me. And back then I couldn't hear other people or see how anybody would have a different perspective on it. So this documentary to me is so much more than Kris transporting some haunted dolls that kicked Dani's ass for a few weeks. It's a demonstration of, you know, belief systems being cracked or modified or turned upside down, right? Because your world gets turned upside down, right? Kris, I've never seen you sort of like kind of you know,
I became an exorcist.
Yeah. When I watch the videos, that's what I'm like, this dude's like a goddamn exorcist right now. And you're holding the cross, and I'm like, that's not Kris. No. But if you found comfort in that, and that's the part for me that I was like, this is so cool. And I'm glad you still have it. I remember asking you about it after we left the convent. And there was another little part, and you managed to capture this, right? Where when we were talking, you know, everybody with the dolls at the convent, I see Dani move over to the counter, and I see you and Sophie make eye contact, right? And I was like, and it was sort of like, okay, like, they're not happy with everybody. So there's a lot of little things in this video for me that's like, wow, it's cool. But I do think there are some lessons that can come from it, right? Because for me personally, and for you too, Kris, like, I don't want to feed. I don't want to feed.
I guess Kris was. No.
What just happened?
Kris is just gone.
Oh shit.
He's like, oh, lessons? You can bite me.
Yeah. He's like, I spent a month making a video, and you're gonna give me a lesson. Okay.
Let's give him a second to get back on.
We'll give him a second to get his butt cheeks back in here. But if you haven't watched it on the side, go watch it. It's so good.
So good.
Make yourself a drink.
So well put together. It's such a good job.
Yeah, to me, it's better than any of the Who's he asking? I'll do it. You're all good, Rick McCallum. To me, it's better than most of the shows I've watched in recent months. And I think he's back, but
well, we don't see him.
Oh, his video.
Wait.
Yeah, I'm here, but my phone overheated. So the camera.
That happens to me too. You look better this way anyway.
Yeah.
Stop it.
The views will go up now, so we're good.
Will go up. Right. So to me, right, and I watched it, and I can tell you from experience, when people came to me when I was struggling with something and gave that thing that I thought was kicking my ass more power by surrendering to it. Hey, Wade. By surrendering to it and giving it credibility, it made things worse for me. Right. And having gone through all that and healed from it and taken my power back, it wasn't a conscious choice, right? I choose not to give these things that power. So if I seemed to both of you callous or uncaring, it wasn't that. I was being very careful not to make it worse for you by making it scarier. But also at the same time, I was protecting my own power. Does that make sense? And this lady right here is the one that kind of taught me all of these things. So watching it play out and having those more personal details, for me, having, living here with Dani and these dolls, and there's still a shit ton more. I got rid of another one last night.
There yet.
It was, and if Wade's here, Wade, I'm going to show you the one that I still think you were talking about that night we were hanging out. But anyway, so I just wanted you guys to know, and the people on the side, it wasn't that, right? For me personally, I can pretty sure solidly guess about Sara too. It's about not feeding the fire for me. So, but you captured all that shit really, really well.
You did.
Especially from an insider perspective. I watched it and I was like, oh my God, it was just so good, man. And like I said, down to the score and the way you weave the stories together. I was just like, geez, man, this shit is good. It was so good.
Well, I appreciate all that. And it is. Wait till you see part 2, because part 2 gets even more. Part 2 is a lot more footage of the events going on, because we're there together. And I mean, Andy sent me footage of the pendulum, which I didn't have that full session. So now I got the full session, which is really cool because we can compare mine and Sarah's questions together. And there was a lot of personal experiences from the guests that they received as well that night. And so it's cool because part 2 shows like other people's experiences rather than ours.
Mm-hmm.
It was just good. Sara, why are you so quiet?
I'm just listening. I think, I think everybody should watch this. And I think that Kris has given a fair assessment of everybody's,
experience.
Experience, but in meeting, I think that was probably the most eye-opening. And there are things in there that shows pieces, but when I think back, like watching it, and I think Rob, you mentioned Dani sort of, you had said when we were watching we were all kind of watching the premiere at the same time at different locations. And Rob's like, this kind of brought stuff back up for Dani to watch it. Right. And there's a specific part in there that I have thought a lot about. And it is where Dani comes in and, we've got the dolls, but there's something that happens between Dani and I that really I don't think anybody really caught.
I watched it.
Yeah, and there's some interesting aspects to that particular interaction that is not at all the way Dani and I are together. Like that was to me, a very unique interaction.
The dolls had a lot seeing the dolls, having them there, not knowing they were there. That had a lot to do with that too on my part too.
Oh, well, and listen, and whatever those dolls are and whatever they do possess,
Harbor
or house harbor. Okay. Well, however you want to state it. I think that this is where, and I think this is where a lot of investigators or enthusiasts or researchers don't take the time to really dig into. Kris has offered a starting point to a very, very deep dive, and how far that this can actually reach. This is where investigators, I think, or people who like to sort of consume paranormal, oh, something scary happened. It's scary. I'm going to make an edit, and they share it. But I think what they don't stop and think about, especially something that was so personal to Dani, and then how it sort of reached its tentacles out, right? And what played out at the convent. But what I noticed was relationships changed at the convent, and perceptions, and suddenly everybody goes to their camp of what they believe and their own experiences. And there's a lot. I have sat with a lot since watching that yesterday, and really it's a big conversation. And what?
No, it is. I know. I knew Wade was gonna have a comment here, and you're right, Wade. We've had this happen many times, even on on investigations, when sometimes when I play EVPs back, or even one from a different location, it will spark things up, right? And look. So I managed to upset a priest yesterday with a meme that I posted, and it was not. There is no issue with like religion for me. There just isn't. I just it's the same story. I read it differently, right? For me, like my memes and posts are more about comedic and about social media, right? It was a pope and a devil walking down the beach, and depending on which side of the social media team you're on, I'm either the devil or I'm the pope. That's all.
Who's the evil one? Do we always assume that the pope is the good one? I mean,
oh, you're always the good one. You're always the pope-ass, right? So, well, that's not true. I'm giving you a little too much credit. But, I think that's the beauty in what Get Haunted has always been about, and bringing it. It's why Wade and I are super good friends. Very, very faith-based investigator, and I love investigating with him. And I make stupid jokes when he sprays me with holy water. I hiss at him. I just do that. I love Wade, and Wade loves me. I think still. But that's the beauty. I don't discredit it, and I don't disregard it. I will respect it, and I'm like, I don't know I'm right about everything. Most things I'm probably right about.
Yeah, most things.
But that's where this video, I think, opens up crazy. Like Sara said, I think this is a platform to dive way, way deeper into certain things, right? Because if you look at all of that, why did Sara and Rob have such different experiences than Kris and Dani? And like, I literally felt bad for Kris when I woke up to a message from 4 a.m. that I didn't hear, going, what the fuck is in my room with me? Like, and I'm like, this dude didn't sleep, right? And
you didn't really give him any of what we had gone through, right? At this point, he was going in blind.
I was like, if you sure you want to do this? And when you watch the video, it couldn't be more apparent that I really didn't want to be a part of the investigative piece in Chris's room.
Well, there was a lot of validation the next morning when me and you were outside talking, and all of a sudden, like I mentioned a smell, and you like took a step back, and it was like you knew, and I didn't know that you knew, and like it was crazy. Boston didn't know about the headaches, and I had not really been getting one yet. Sarah, I think you got one before I did, and how you described it.
Mine was just pressure. I had no pain. I had zero pain. It was just like if somebody laid a finger pressing, but there was no pain for me. So I wouldn't say headache for me.
So one thing people pointed out to me that, and I don't, the speculation, that's the nice thing about this video is we can all have different opinions on what happened in this video. And, people were pointing out when I was putting the cross on the dolls, I was putting it on their head right between their eyes. And Boston says that it felt like something was poking at her third eye.
Yes, she did.
And that's right where, and I wish, I'm happy I got the second half of it, but there was about 10 minutes that didn't get filmed.
Mm-hmm.
And that first part, the stuff she was saying about myself and how I was going to die, horrible deaths, and my dog and people that I loved in my life were going to be hurt if I kept talking to them. And then that's when I found the crucifix. And when I put it on the first time, she started screaming, "Take it off, it hurts."
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, listen.
But she couldn't see anything that Kris was doing, which makes that even more insane. I mean, insanely insane. Like, what the heck is going on here? How does that work, right? Like,
yeah.
Sorry. I was gonna say when I picked up the doll and she said, "Put me down," I almost punted it like a football across the room.
So, and that's what I love about this story. There's so many elements to it, to from, how we got them and how previous owner, if you're watching, still, he just doesn't want to talk about it. And I don't, there was a point, I think in the beginning, Sara, where you and I are like, we getting punked here. Like, why won't he talk? Why won't he talk? Right? What's he not sharing? And maybe it's nothing, or maybe it's something. I do not know. But we have all of the ingredients here and the story can still play out the same every single way, but it could be applied to different perspectives and still work perfectly. That's what I love about it, right? But it doesn't mean I don't have reverence, and it doesn't mean I don't have respect or Sara, right? It is, I think it's art, when people have different methodologies to protect themselves. I think that is the bigger conversation at the end of this thing is, how the hell did I get through it mostly unscathed, right? The headaches were a thing for me. But then even leading up to it, right, we can start to speculate on weird shit. We both got hurt. Dani and I both got hurt in the month coming up to it. So it could become this great horror story or all coincidental. I don't know. But we never questioned anybody's experiences. I think we all just kind of handled it differently. So this comment came in from Wade at 2:22 p.m. I just want to throw that out there.
I'm curious though, to hear everybody, because we were interviewed at different times. And I think it is very interesting. Hey, Icy, to hear. So clearly how I held those dolls did tweak more than one person. And what I find interesting about this is we go directly, I think we get upset with each other.
Yeah.
But the reality is, how come we give the power to the dolls when it comes to everything else? Because we don't know if how I was affected was exactly how I was treating those dolls, that I was meant, because I spent time. I asked you guys, like, can I please just go sit in Kris's room by myself with those dolls? You guys were like, if you really want to do it. And I had a big nothing. You guys walked in going, do you not smell that? I'm like, I smell nothing. I smell nothing. So I didn't have that vibe. My vibe with them was very different. And I don't know that, Sophie sort of said like how we were holding them. Well, I'm going to keep it very real. I am a girl who played with dolls when I was little. I had Baby Alive. My stuffed animals, I put diapers on and clothes on, and I carried them around like babies. So for me, all the way up to 54, to see a doll, I'm not going to grab it by its arm and fling it around. It's not how I'm going to treat them, right? So how I hold them is how I would hold a baby. It's not that I think it's a baby spirit. I think this is where, for me to hear that was like, I never once thought it was a baby spirit, but the vessel itself, to me, was an obvious how you would hold it. But we can't also say that how I was holding them or how I was sort of interacting with them wasn't how they wanted me to interact with them. So I find that a very interesting thing, that if somebody has a bad thing, well, that's the doll's fault. But the way she's holding it, she's being an asshole, right? Not that I think anybody said that, but you know what I mean? No. Like, we don't give it the same energy, right? Like,
no. And I wonder if you would have had more time with them if that would have transformed for you. Because I remember looking back at when I first got them, and I was super like, they needed to be like their dresses. Like, I fussed over them.
Yeah.
And I always wonder, like, because you're a very nurturing person in general, right?
I want to hold them. Yeah.
Yeah. No, but that makes sense. But I just wonder, like, would they have used that and then manipulated that if you would have had more time with them?
Absolutely, right. Like, I think, and I like what you're saying, Rob. Like, it's not that I didn't have respect for people's experiences. I think that I had nothing but respect for people's experiences. But how did you want me to treat those objects? Do you want me to motherfuck them? Did you want me, like, to me, I was holding them with kid gloves because that is the vessel they're in. So I think for me, you know, there was a little bit of, and people are curious and interested. Of course, when you bring an item in, right? Everybody wants their moment to be like, oh my gosh, Dani had done this amazing, vulnerable video expressing her experience, right? Saying, I'm not trying to persuade you. I'm just telling you, I'm trying to wrap my head around this. Like, it was very emotional. So people knew that. And now here are those items. Of course, they're going to be interested, right? Of course, everybody's going to be like, am I going to have that moment? I don't know if I ever felt like, am I going to have that moment? I think for me, Alpha definitely draws you in. Like, there's no doubt Alpha draws you in. So I don't know, Dani, it would be interesting to know, what is that the tactic when it comes to females? Do they begin with, be sweet to me and let your guard down so I can really dig in? I don't know. I can't answer that, right? I can't answer that.
Guarantee it's a female spirit then.
Oh shit.
Wow.
Wow. Dear internet, this is for entertainment purposes only. And Kris, I hate that I can't see your face.
I know it's hard to not see him.
Boom.
There we go.
All right, let's see if it cooled down a little bit now. All right, so I definitely think, Sara, that it was the beginning stages like Dani, because in Dani's interview, like how you talked, everything that you told me, like within those first few days, even though there was some unordinary things that kind of followed, you still had that very protective, these things could do no wrong, like they were yours, right? And Sara, I feel like that's exactly how you started out as well with it. And then when it came to people like me and Rob, they just didn't want anything to do with us. But Sara, you talked about not really getting like a big moment of something, I feel like that investigation that we did in that hotel room where we didn't record was some of the most genuine paranormal activity I have ever seen ever. It was, that was the blessing that I ask when I say, can you please give me something to make me believe?
Yeah.
We got it that day in that hotel room. And whether the world got to see it or not, the three of us know what we saw and heard. And that was insane.
This is something I argue with Sara about often, right? Because we will, over the years, we've had some big experiences, and in the moment, she's like, and then an hour later, she's like, she'll fight it sometimes. This is Sara, right? It's something I had to get used to. I'm going to go back and wait. I knew this is what I knew you were going to type this. I knew it. And you're right. But here's where I think, and we need to have a big old show after part 2, right? And I might even show you part 3 if you want here in a moment. Hey, Sparky. I firmly believe, like, Sarah's got this weird force field around her for shit. She just does, right? And she helped me build mine up too, I believe, right? Because it's been some weird shit. And since the big thing, everything else has felt really kind of minimal for me. And that was a mindset change mostly. And if she taught me that, perhaps, right? Perhaps she is impervious to, the more negative things. I don't know. I'm throwing things out there. I just watch what I watch with her, and I'm like, all right, like watching shit. We'll see something happening over there, and she'll be focused on something that's happening over here that we're not seeing. It's cool to watch. But I would love to, bring Wade on and Kris and Dani and everybody on after part 2, and we can have a really deep dive discussion about this, because I do believe that.
But I think some of that, and I agree with you, Kris. There were things that happened that afternoon, the responses we got on some of that equipment, where I am not discrediting that at all. I am not, there were things that it was like, I mean, and you did capture the one when I say, are you the, whatever I said, are you the alpha, or are you alpha, or whatever? And I don't even know why. Why did we come up with that name?
I think, I think we just said this is the one in charge. This is like the alpha of the group, and then we just started referring to it as that.
Yeah. So what I will tell you, because after, watching Dani's video, and then I can say now, after like being at the convent with her and watching sort of what happened, is there is this, and I've watched this on a lot of investigations. It's not that I don't have experiences. I know I do. I feel like I'm sort of there to bear witness to a lot of what goes on. So that can be frustrating as an investigator, because I can, not that I want anything bad, but you can watch people do that, and it's like, I can bear witness to it, and I will always give space for those experiences, but it's like I don't have them. So I can be in the same room with that stuff, but not have that same strong feeling.
So, and the perfect example of that is when Sara and I went with a group of people to the place that jacked me up, that she helped me get past. And I swear to God, it was like we were there almost watching a play happen, right? And for me, I'm like looking at it, I'm like, this is validation for everything. So we had this weird bubble, and we were watching people around us one by one.
Do you remember that, Dani? Everybody was falling at the farm.
Oh, they were
like,
just
yes,
they were just getting knocked out one at a time. you know,
It's
to
the
the point
strangest
where
investigation I've ever been on.
it was insane. And they were just morphing into just, some were angry, some were like, you know, it was, and Sara and I are like looking at each other. I'm like, see, so I think for her that night, and there was one thing that I had asked for, you know, of the location to happen for her, because it's sort of a critical part of the bigger story, and it happened, but it happened at the end. So she was, I'll never, I'm forever thankful for it, and I'll never forget it. But I think that night, you know, sadly for the people that did have a hard night, it was, they needed it, I believe, but it was validation that the bigger story here, right, was accurate, right? It was one of the strangest nights I've ever seen. And maybe this is also like a similar, that's where, like, Dani, I was frustrated with you when you were, I wasn't mad at you. It's frustrating when I was, you know, I'm like trying to comfort you and tell you, I remember saying this to you. I'm like, do you not remember all the shit I went through? Like, I am telling you.
Yeah, but I didn't want my story to be your story. I didn't want to like try to make my
but
stuff.
that isn't it, right?
What I was trying.
It's not the details of the story or the storyline. It's sort of what the end result ends up being. So, just like you were frustrated.
But see, right there, like just what's happening. And I think this is what Kris has done a really good job in part one. I am really curious. You're not really making us wait till the end of July, right, Kris? Or are you?
I have a date in my head that is special to me in July. It is not at the end.
Oh, is it at the almost end? Like,
no. It's like mid.
Okay, because this is so, like, I'm dying to see what part two does bring. But what I find interesting right here, this interaction between Dani and Rob, which is, I remember when I first met you, Rob, you were exactly where Dani was, but I understand Dani's experience is hers, and she's not ready and wasn't ready to receive. Nobody wants to hear at that moment, like, you're going to be fine, right? You should remember my story, right? Yeah. So I think this is where, and maybe this is part of what is housed within those dolls, because you try to comfort Dani, though Dani and I have a very affectionate relationship. We are very huggy, kissy, touchy, right? Like, it's just who Dani and I are. And that day at the convent, I could not connect with Dani, no matter how physical. I know it sounds horrible, how physical I got with her, right? She had connected to Sophie. She would not acknowledge me. You wouldn't look at me. Yeah, you wouldn't look at me. You were facing her. I was
back. She turned her back, literally, physically.
Yeah.
There were things, and I don't even think we've even gotten to talk about this yet, but there were things that played into that for me. When I look back on it, I'm like, I think I, without realizing it, did that because of X, Y, and Z. And
well, yeah, and it's like, but it is interesting because all of this is part of the experience, right? So we're sitting on the pews, or I think with the benches in the parlor. Yeah. Sophie's speaking to you, and I literally have my hand on your heart and my other hand on your back, and we weren't going to connect. It just wasn't going to happen at that moment.
For some reason, it just wasn't. Yeah.
So it's
Which normally we do, though. That's the thing. Normally we connect.
We're very affectionate when we have, if anybody's struggling, right? We hug, we offer each other that support. So I think that's where this particular documentary, to me, should go deeper, right? Because there's so much more to it. Kris is offering a look, but there are so many little nuances. And Kris also, and I got mad at Kris Saturday morning as we were going to breakfast. I'm like, bro, I said to him, like, if you need us, Like, please reach out. Like, doesn't matter what time.
She yelled at me and she hit me on the hand with a spoon.
I did snap.
I got punched in the face. You got it off easy. I literally got punched in the face at the Shanley Hotel.
But it was interesting because, see, that for me, my experience was I wasn't allowed to connect with people the way I like to connect with people. You didn't allow it. So Kris and Dani had the bigger experiences with those dolls, and they both just wouldn't allow me to offer any kind of comfort and or support. It just wasn't happening.
So you had like, it was like this non-gelling, it was a weird, so when I walked in, honestly, like if I'm being super honest, even before I saw the doll was there, it felt weird to me. Like, did you feel any weird shifts or like, because it was nothing was ever.
Yeah, I think it was just you walked in and it was like, oh, like I was excited, and then your face was just tense. Like all of a sudden, Dani has you have a tell, right?
I'm very expressive. Yeah.
You have a tell. That's okay. I mean, it's good. It's good for people that you don't hide it. Like, so right away, and I didn't take it personal right away. It was like, oh, she's not happy. Like she's not happy. And we tried to get it back when we went to go get pizza, right? Pizzas to bring back. Like we tried, but you definitely, you would have a moment, and then you would sort of, it would, you'd kind of step back into like, and I understood why. I mean, it was just, that was just sort of it. But that for me, after watching this part 1, I was like, I felt outside of the circle. I felt like I couldn't do my thing. Like, this is not a complaint, just so everybody knows. I'm not like, oh, yeah. But that's, for me, that was more, and again, is it the effect of the dolls? Is it something that played in there? Was it the effect they had on you guys? Or was that my gift from them? I don't know. I don't know. And by the way, just so you know, when I held them, I think I did this more because I don't tend to hold babies this way, right? I hold them where their butts to my stomach, and I hold their little faces. So I kind of hold them away from my chest because I like babies to look around. They need to see what's going on. So I wasn't holding them to my heart, but just to put that out there. I don't know, Kris, how do you feel about what I'm saying?
So a thing that made me, because I definitely saw that whole interaction at the convent, and I started to wonder, is it the dolls like finally letting go of Dani at this point and just being like, fuck you, now see, we got her, like just kind of showing you that you were being used by them and
oh, they pitted us just like girls pitting other girls against each other.
Happens.
Yeah, like, well, I really feel like they want to separate you from anyone, and I feel like they were doing that to you, Dani, and I mean, they were making you lash out at people, making you,
oh my gosh,
get away from people, and so I think that was their way of manipulating Sara to the point where now Sara was not purposely outcasting you. Like she was there doing her thing and was kind of oblivious to the reaction that you were having in the moment, and that was separating a good bond, a good friendship that was there, and it was kind of pushing you out and letting them take focus.
Well, we're gonna see. Well, we're gonna work through. Like these discussions are huge, I think, and it's really cool. And I can't wait to see what part 2 brings. And I do think we should all reconvene at some point, right? And I brought this guy out, Kris, and I saw Shay was like, "Who the fuck is that?" This is the one that we were told is the one to worry about.
Let's open it.
The one with the Bible in it?
Yeah, this guy.
Oh, yeah.
Open.
Oh.
So then I want to ask though. So Dani,
Part 3.
I have 2 questions really.
Yeah.
One, I am curious how you felt about the way part 1 of this, how it portrayed your story, and 2, since those dolls are gone, but there is still several items still left behind at the apartment, you know, how does that feel for you?
So for the first question, I think the way my part of the story was handled, the way it all came together, I think that was beautifully put together, because I don't often share a lot of my personal stuff. I just don't normally do that. So to have all this out there, and I couldn't have put it in more capable hands. Kris, you did this phenomenal job of just making sure all of the pieces, and you got my perspective, Rob's perspective, Sara's perspective. Like, it all was just flawlessly put together, where you can feel the emotion in every single one of our parts too. So I feel like that was captured the best way that it could possibly be captured. As far as not having them around anymore, but still having other objects here. I don't go up in the office nearly as much. I used to go up there and hang out with my little buddy every now and then, but I had not been up there a lot at all since then. I do hear things up there. Things are not kosher up in that area.
Okay.
There's still 20. I just counted. There's still at least 20 of them sitting up there. At least.
I have a different viewpoint on them now, for sure.
Yeah. You just kind of like not going to mess with that.
I don't want to revisit that connection, because to know, like, looking back on it now, like that took some part of what was ever inside of me and twisted it to make me do whatever the hell it needed me to do, so that it could, whatever it's feed off the energy, whatever the heck was going on in that situation. And for that to be able to do that so flawlessly that I didn't even catch it until it was to the point where I finally wasn't, like, that day that I broke down and Rob had to help through it, was the first day where I wasn't like cooing over the items anymore. I was to the point where I was like, I never wanted to get out of bed anymore. I couldn't, like, when I was falling asleep, it was horrible. When, you know, I couldn't sleep, I just totally no energy. Right. So like, I never want something to have that much sway over me ever again. So like, healthy respect for if there is or is not something attached to those. I don't want to go up there and just like poke them with a stick. You know what I mean?
and like those words right there would be exactly the words I would have used back then, right? When I was having my, like, it took me like a year to even go back to that place, right? But those same words were used multiple times. Like, I didn't want to see pictures. I didn't want to be reminded of it. I didn't want to think about it. It's wild. It's wild what happens. But for me personally, right? And what helped me, and I did, I noticed like changes in you pretty quickly. And I had talked to Sara about it a couple times, and to you. So for me, it wasn't even to me, they can be the same thing, but it wasn't a classic exorcism, right? That cleared me of these things. It was more of a spiritual exorcism, if you will. It was more, without the physicality of, all of the rituals. It was a change in mindset and a change in understanding as to what was being presented to me and why. Right. And I think, like, even just things I know, right, with you, I think if there was ever a part 3 or a spinoff, like, I think going backwards in your life for a few years could lead up to.
That's not a great place to want to go.
I know, I understand, but that's an important piece to this. Is, what made you what made you vulnerable, right? At that moment. I'm not discrediting that these dolls house something or there's some energy that lingers with them. It's how do we make ourselves vulnerable in that moment, and why do we get picked on? So that's what I'm saying. And this Wade's kind of nailing it, right? And that's exactly what I'm saying. And yeah, I don't think Dani should go and hang out and play with the dolls. I just don't, right? It's why I kicked them out of the house. Their reaction to being evicted was bigger than I expected, and that triggered
was a serious night.
Yeah, that did trigger. That brought me back a few years to a point to, when I did live in fear, and when I did like question even my own sanity, right? Because what happened there was very, very that was pretty intense. So.
Those are those moments where you look at it and you're like, that only happens on the shows as like a TV thing or only in the movies. And then you're like, oh my God, like this is real. This is happening.
Yeah. And this is where I see similarities between myself and Wade or you or anybody is 3 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to bring those dolls downstairs and lock them up. I just wouldn't have. I'd have been like, nope, you got to get someone in here. I can't even be near them. That night, I mean, I did what I had to do. I talked to him. I told him, look, stop fucking around. I will kick your ass because I've been through this shit already. And I'm still good. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead, Sarah.
Well, I'm curious because now Kris has had a big experience. Like, Kris, are you free from experience? Or are you still experiencing?
No, I still, up until just like a day or two ago, keep feeling the thing on my bed. I see things out of the corner. Now, I've always had the corner of the eye thing. Like, I feel like I've had an attachment for quite some time. But I almost feel like this has kind of latched onto that one.
Or you're just more aware maybe now. Like maybe it really opened your awareness up.
I don't know. Like the attachment that I've always had feels off. Feels slightly different, as if like a little corrupted, or like it doesn't feel bad. It never felt bad before, but like it just looks slightly different now. And I don't want to sound crazy, like,
no,
but like, so
God. You drove with dolls and seatbelts. You're already crazy.
Okay. So like 2 years ago, apparently I was told that because I started seeing something around my house a lot, that it was something that I picked up in Salem.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I really picked it up in Salem. Boston likes to think that I picked it up at The Conjuring. I don't know. It's not mean. It's there. I feel it when I go on investigations. I feel it with me. But like the big thing is like when I walk down my hall at night, I can always see it just standing in a certain spot. And it's just the last few weeks, it's been different. It's been a different height almost. To say. And so I feel like there is definitely something still there from these dolls. I don't want to say much. In part 3, I talked to Tony, and Tony gives me some insight. Part two. I'm sorry. Part 2. Tony gives me some insight about like now that we're separated from the dolls, is it just done? I feel like it's still around. I don't know if I don't want to say that it's going to get worse, but I think it's going to be around for a little while.
So then would you say for you and Dani, who had the biggest experiences that we're aware of with those dolls, right? We're just talking about what we know. So in this circle right here, you and Dani had the biggest experiences. So I'm really curious, do you guys feel more, what's the word I want to look for here? Do you feel more, not knowledgeable, do you feel more in tuned, more aware, more, do you feel like you have more information than you did going into this, that you feel a little like you could on future investigations or whatever?
Hardened, sort of.
Yeah.
Dani, you want to go first?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I definitely feel like I gained experience through this and a little bit more respect for how to tread in those waters. Like how open to be, how like when things start feeling a little sketchy, maybe like closing down a little bit more, because I usually run into everything, right? With, hey,
Yeah, you do.
I literally never think before I speak with half of that stuff. And I never realized before how just opening up that invitation can cause a lot of chaos that maybe you're not prepared for. So I feel like I've gained some form of knowledge, as in like I'm trying to be, I don't know if careful, because I still ask stupid questions on investigation, but like I definitely know that there's a little bit more out there than I did before. So yeah, it has affected me, and I don't know quite how to define that yet.
So I'll just go back to the moment when I brought those dolls downstairs and locked them up, and then came back up here, and I walked in, and you were standing there very freaked out, pointing, and you were like, you said something, and if I was going to make this video, I would have named it this. Like, she said, this is real, right? Now, I know you believed in the paranormal prior, right? But this was the huge. This was
a
huge
big
driving
experience.
the nail home.
Yeah.
To me, it's a lot like, look, I grew up in Jersey, and I'm 54, and times, going into Manhattan, especially Times Square, as a teenager in 1987, was a much different experience than it is today. Wade can probably attest to that as well. Being from New York. Back then, like your first time going into the city, especially Times Square, which was a little dicier, way dicier back then. You didn't know. You just in there, and it was essentially a war zone in some places. And you go and you kind of get a lay of the land, and you figure out how to act and not make yourself look like a tourist, and then going back each time got a bit easier. So you became sort of battle hardened and gained some experience. So I do think the experiences that you two had are pretty rare, right? Pretty damn rare. And Wade's got a backstory, and here he is today, working in the Warren Occult Museum, around Annabelle and the Shadow Doll and the Satanic Idol. And the man has come from his story to this point, and he's around these objects all the time. And I think that's part of the journey, right? It's getting those notches on your belt, if you will. Kind of how I see it.
So do you, Kris, feel like more knowledge? Like, I don't even think I'm not even saying knowledgeable. Like, do you feel like now you have, it's almost like you belong in a new club of like, and Rob, I'm so glad you mentioned that experience that Dani had where she says it's real. Like, because I think those are like, you can't, they're not caught on tape. They're not, right. They're not up for public consumption, or they're not, they're not entertainment. I mean, it's a moment in your being, your energy, where you're like, and I feel like, Kris, you had that same it's real moment. I feel like you had that.
Yeah, and like Dani said, I think what I gained from this the most is respect. Knowing to respect these items. And I think if I would have just went to the Warrens Museum, not without any of this happening prior, I think my outlook on it would have been a lot different. And being able to go there after experiencing this and then seeing like the world famous items, objects in there, and sitting down with Wade and sitting down in that house, it was just awe-inspiring, and just like I had so much gratitude for them and all the stuff that went into that place. Knowing like, okay, this is what me and Dani dealt with, which was traumatic, don't get me wrong, but I don't feel like it was Annabelle. Like we definitely, Dani had it worse. I had one night. I can't imagine 2 weeks. Hands down to you for sticking through it. So I had to use your one part in the video because Rob told the story too about hearing about the drowning in holy water. And Rob's was very dramatic, and yours was so like, I'm done with these things. And that's what I told him. I was going to drown him in holy water.
You have to remember, I'm like, Dani disconnected from me as well. She was suffering silently. She wasn't telling me everything.
I wasn't telling anyone anything.
I was pretty much sitting here in my place with her going, I don't know what the fuck is happening right now. And I hear her threatening wherever room she was in. I wasn't sure. I just know it wasn't in the room I'm in. And I'm like, is she talking to Leo? Like, because we're going to fight. Like, I had no idea. I knew things weren't right. I could tell by her behavior. She had hinted at some things, but there wasn't full transparency about how she was feeling. So, you know, and looking backwards to you and to Dani and Sara and Wade on the side, like sometimes I do think also, and we'll save this for when we have a big old round table, is, you know, maybe this all is supposed to happen, and it's part of your journey, and it's part of growth, and it's part of developing a deeper understanding about what it is we all face and look at and search for, to be honest with you. I don't know. So I, you know, I didn't and still don't see what happened with you two as a negative thing, because we're still sitting here talking about it, right? And maybe helping someone on the side understand that, oh my God, I should talk about this, or I should seek help, on whoever that help is with, or maybe just giving them enough strength to go, you know what, like, I'm not going to punt this thing out of the house. I'm going to try to understand it, or bring someone in to understand. I don't know, whatever the right answer is for people, because I don't believe it's the most common thing in the world. That's just me.
Well, I want to say for me, and Dani, I'm sure you probably might be the opposite, because again, you had a lot more happen to you. None of this experience to me was negative to me. Yeah, did I get scared? Yeah. Did I lose some sleep for a night? For sure. But the growth that came with it was worth it. And just being able to experience it, you know, I believe anything Dani said that happened to her, whether I experienced it or not. But like, having little glimpses of it happen, it's like, holy shit, I know what you went through. I believe you 100%.
And I'm sure, right? And but you land on the thing, right? I'm sure at some point, you know, someone's gonna try to debunk this whole damn thing, and you guys will be torn apart. Like, and that's the part that's
sad. It's not their experience anyway. So
yeah, I know. They go for it. We don't care, obviously, but you know, that for me, you know, in the paranormal, at least, is, you know, that's the saddest thing. Like, when people start questioning other people's experiences. We're not trying to sell this video. We're not trying to. Well, I'm not trying to monetize on it. You know, it just is what it is. We're telling a story. We're telling a story that happened.
Well, this one was such an organic, in my opinion, this was such an organic sort of development of, it goes from, you know, Rob being offered to take some items to doing a live with the one doll that nobody even gives two craps about. And that's the big, tall, ugly one. Nobody cares about that girl. But we did a live with her, right? And there was some things that happened that night that I think you guys were like, okay, but here's the other problem, right? We assume that because we're looking at that vessel, that's where the energy is coming from, and we cannot make that statement. And I think this is where I'm going to be honest with you. I feel like I know less than I've ever known about the paranormal after watching that. Like, I feel like I walked away going, like, something has completely erased my brain and I am having to sort of start over again. That's where it's landed me. And, you know, you look at these items and we hold we hold these things in such high regards to being like, I think you said for part 2, Kris, that Tony said, like, if the dolls are gone, does it end? That's like saying a spirit can't leave a room, like, right? We all talk about that, like, oh, little Johnny's stuck in the closet and he can't come out. Well, that's not true. Like, that's not true. Like, that can't be true, right? But that's just where our attention is held, that closet, because we were told that closet is where that energy resides. So these dolls and these experiences, and one reason I'm not a fan of the debunking community, not all, because I think there are a couple that do offer bigger conversations, but the debunkers that just take these videos and say, oh, they're full of shit. And Kris, you made a comment in your documentary, which is, these dolls play games. They make us look like we're full of shit. Because we're going to say something so out of pocket. And so people are like, well, clearly that can't be. Well, the reality is, oh, hell yeah, things happened. Experiences were had. Now, we can never fully prove where those experiences came from. But I think this is where, again, we fail as investigators, researchers, and explorers. We need to all sit down and have those hard conversations and be able to say, there isn't one of us in that documentary that is correct 100% about what's going on. We're just sharing what we, right? And so that's where I feel like in paranormal, we've really walked away from the wonderment and the mysteries of what the unknown is, because now we're trying to cram down what we believe. Well, Sophie isn't 100% right. I'm not 100% right? Rob, like, we just can only share. You're not. Newsflash. Newsflash, you're not. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's what's so. I personally, Kris, I love what you have done, and to me, I think this is and you said it, Rob. This is a platform to jump off of. This is such a great place to really dive in and say, okay, he gave us this. Like, let's take this and let's start. Okay. Part 1, let's start taking it apart, right? There's so much here. And for any of, what's that?
I'm sorry. It's just so good.
It's so good. It's so good.
While you were busy not being at Missouri, Kris and Shay let Rob, Joe, and Dom watch like what he had gotten done so far. Mm-hmm. And for me, it was hard for me to watch the movie and not watch Joe, who was sitting there like this. Like, he was like, oh my God. It's like, as much as we hype it up, like, it's until you see it.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard to understand how brilliant it is. So
but people don't get the and I didn't finish that part because I went off on my tangent like I do. But that's the organic, right? You got these items from Adam. Dani didn't know they were coming, right? You get these, you're like, I don't know, dude, like, Adam wants to drop these off. Okay.
A truckload of shit. I had no idea.
I'm like, what the hell is in our kitchen? Like,
so here Dani gets out of all of the items, out of all of them, those 3 capture her attention, which then turns into something that no one could have expected or thought was going to happen. There was no preconceived whatever. Then
that alpha one is the one I beeline to that one though.
Yeah. And it's the one that I definitely, and it's the eyes for sure. And then here we already have the convent set up, that the whole point of the convent has turned into the housing of these mostly dolls, not all dolls, but mostly dolls.
Mostly, yeah.
To Kris saying, you know what? Yeah, I'd like to give this a whirl. I don't know why the hell he'd want to, but he's like, I'm in, right? And it worked out. It worked out where, to me, you want to talk about universe lining up. Then we realize it looks like a Mrs. Kravitz or something.
Oh.
Then we realized just the timeline too of where these items were supposed to go anyways, right? Then we started doing our own digging and understanding like how they were trying to be disposed of or let go of. And so to me, for anybody to take this documentary, and I know you can twist, and we've seen it, you can take any freaking sentence and twist it to be what you want it to be. But for anybody to take this documentary, Kris, and try to claim that any of it was a setup, this couldn't have been more all the steps that led to it were just freaking organic.
Well, I will say this. If anybody wants to do that, please do that. Watch the full thing in its entirety about 500 times for me. And then you can talk whatever crap you want. Give me the views.
I do want to say something. Because now I'm looking at, there's more up there in the glass.
There's so much more up there.
They have, I don't know, but they're all turned facing me.
Have they not been?
Not always, no.
They're like, oh, what are they talking about?
Audio for a second. I'm gonna bring you over there. Like
they're like three of them got some airtime. We want our airtime now.
They're like, why not me?
Can't hear you. But I while he's getting his audio, it is interesting. Do you remember this, Kris, when we were doing the investigation in the afternoon? I think I said it in the afternoon. But I felt like one of the dolls was a doll that I felt like it was in a closet with someone.
Yeah, you said that.
Was that afternoon? Like I and you know, it was just like, and I wasn't, again, I didn't see any pictures in my head, but it was like, I felt like it had been a doll that probably had been a source of comfort for somebody that had been sort of in a forced closet. Did I say that in the afternoon?
I believe you did. And then I later ended up throwing it into a closet.
Well, because
I'm sorry.
No, but that's like, there were a couple times during this to see everybody's, what Boston was saying, matching with Dani, with you, with some of the things. I sat there going, wow, like to have your own things validated. That's what was really intriguing. And so to me, what a great concept to, and I remember when you're like, I'm going to interview you guys. And then Rob's like, well, why isn't he interviewing us together? And it was like, this, right? Because then you can make those connections and say, that's, I didn't like you carrying the dolls and her telling you to put them down. Like that part really wigged me out. Because.
Well, wigged me out too.
Yeah, I mean, because I think when we started sort of confirming who was who and the Epic box, validating that, like, are you alpha? And I mean, Kris and I, every time Rob was like off behind us, like going, you two have fun. Like something would happen. And I think at that moment, it was all kind of light, right? Because we'd get a response and Kris and I'd be like, oh, like, this is so great, and then it just wasn't so great.
Well, the rosaries was the crazy part because 3 times we did it. 2 times we said nothing. And 1 time was you, 1 time was me. And it was as soon as we would get almost over their head, it would start saying no.
Well, because when you were doing it, right, you're being funny boy.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, all right, because then you start thinking like, okay, and I think you said this in the documentary, like, okay, is the Epic box just responding to, like, I don't know. Like I started thinking like, is it responding to, it's like, well, I'll try it. Right. But I remember specifically when the dead bell went nuts.
Oof.
That was insane.
But the way you looked at me and went, oh, I'm gonna be taking them off tonight. Like you were so like, and Rob's like, guys, I don't. And as soon as you kind of did this and said it the way you said it, and that bell, that was probably, I mean, we were like, and it wasn't a scared feeling, but it was like, wow, like So I do agree with you, Kris. I do believe there was validation of something manipulating equipment that we can never prove to the world. But to have that moment with you and the TV doing what the TV was, I mean, there were things happening, and this is what I want everybody to, I don't think I'm a badass, just so everybody realizes, I don't walk in there going, well, nothing's going to get me. That's not the case.
No, you don't do that at all.
When things are happening, I'm literally like I don't know why I don't get the jumps or the, like, I'm literally, it's like all I'm doing is soaking it in. Like I'm like,
she's frozen.
Because it was like the TV. What the hell's going on with the TV? Frozen.
Well, everything was already going off, I think. And at that point, when everything was already going off and the TV started going, all three of us were just like, yeah, the TV's turning on and off on its own.
It was stupid. And when the bell went ape shit, because Sara was blocking my view of the bell. And so I thought she was leaning over, hitting it. I'm like, why the fuck would she do that?
I was not near it.
I know. I'm like, because that's expensive, right? And
why would I do that, right?
Yeah. And that's why I stood up and it was going. We were all just looking at each other dumbfounded.
Didn't that piece of equipment, because you're like, it's burnt out, you're like, this thing is fried.
It wouldn't, so I'd get the light and then I couldn't get it to function.
But now it's fixed again.
Well, I even brought it and gave it to Lauren Hellickson, and she's like, it's on. What are you talking about? And so I brought it down to White Hill Expo, and she's like, yeah, I'll look at it, because Dave was set up, who I bought it from, and I'm like, hey, I kind of want my money back, man. This thing worked for like twice. And he's like, okay. Well, he's like, well, Lauren's here. So she's like, I'll take a look. She looked at it. She turned it on and it just worked. It just worked. She's like, there's nothing wrong with this. And she even had like a larger rare earth magnet and she put it near it and it was like, ding, ding, ding. And she's like, it's fine. And I'm like, no, okay, thank you. And
like, that's weird, right? Like, that's a weird.
Someone told me that happens when the battery dies. I get it. That was not a dead battery, because I could turn it on and see there's a little hole in the box. You can put your eye up to it like Tom and Jerry.
Yeah.
Right. And
what is that?
See that it's on. Oh, and so Jerry would look in it.
Oh. Pop you in the eye.
And then pop you in the eye. Yeah, Tom would get his eye. So Tom and Jerry Kids was a cartoon that a cat would know.
It would be interesting to have an event with Kris and Dani where we work with people that have had experiences like this to understand because this is not like, Kris, your experience is not up for debate. Like Dani said it straight up in her video she made, like, hey, this happened. So, it's not up for debate.
It happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have about 7 or 8 obsidian mirrors, Berkey. So we do have an event we call Making Sense of Your Senses, which we haven't done in far too long, but
it's a good event.
One of the components of that is scrying, and we use the black obsidian mirrors and those. So yeah, we have a bunch. We have so much shit here. Like this room. That's why I saw Damien say I had a cool room here. If it wasn't messy, we'll do a whole Get Haunted workshop / office / podcast studio / laser engraving / diamond cutting / dye sublimation tour one day. How's that sound?
I wonder if there's something we could do at that village in Ohio.
I know.
Yeah, we need to get on that.
July 26th, folks.
It's a month from now, so please get on it. Happy
Kris, would you take another 24 hours with a item that, say, somebody again like Dani had an experience? Would you take them on again?
Yes, 100%.
You would. Dani, You've pretty much said, like, I have a different respect now for these kinds of things.
I don't know that I want to put myself out there. It hit me really hard to the point where, like, it brought some things up for me that I wasn't prepared for. So I don't think that I want to go running into.
And you have items, by the way.
With items.
You have items in your room that you've gotten from some of the most haunted locations.
Oh yeah, no, I have stuff that I know have attachments to them. Yeah, it's different. I don't know how to explain how it's different. Mm-hmm. What those three, or at least the one of those three items, whatever is being housed in that, I don't know what to define that as, but that was not a normal haunted object. I don't know what that is. And I'm not going to presume it was one thing or another, because that would be very foolish of me to be like, oh, it's this, because I don't know. But it had enough to like mirror something back out of me that I thought I didn't have in me anymore. And the things that I was experiencing and the dreams that I was having and the way I was looking at people, I'm in therapy right now. I don't want to go through that again.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll wait, but eventually, I'm sure one day you'll get back to it. Not that
if it's a normal haunted object, like, and how do you say, hey, this is a normal versus here's something that's going to pull out? You know what I mean? Like, so
have your experiences that you were having while the dolls were there, are those done? Have those subsided?
I'm working through them. There's still
some
of this stuff is still there. It brought things.
Okay. But that's those are your personal things. You're not having any more haunting, so to speak.
So there was 2-ish nights afterwards. That smell came back with like vengeance, right? And then I did this whole thing where I was doing like my own personal prayers to fall asleep.
Yeah.
And then I jolted awake again. And then this intense roses smell.
Yeah.
So intense, like it filled the entire apartment. It was like I was living inside of a rose. I don't even know how to explain how strong this was. Yeah. Ever since that moment, I've not experienced the dolls anymore.
Okay, Kris, smells for you?
Smells? No, not at all with the smells.
Just the bed visitor you have.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Uh-huh. And Rob, you've not been affected by this in a way that is as much as there's Miss Boston.
No, not nothing like what these two had. And I think for me, when Dani was in the height of her thing, it was more about concern for her. Bringing them down to the creep show storage unit down in the basement here was scary for me. I will be the first to admit it. I was like, man, I don't want to do this. And then of course, just so everybody knows, once I got him out of the house and locked up down in the basement, I came back up, messaged Sara, and she's like, well, what about the big one? And I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, you gotta get that out. So, God damn it. So had to go do it twice. But no, I've been good. Good.
And Boston, I know you, I don't think you've been here the whole time, but I'm curious because Boston she really had, as if she were with those dolls, she had some very profound experiences. So Boston, I'm curious how you're feeling, if you have any residue left or anything happening to you, have you been able to sort of shed that experience? I think to hear in your documentary, Kris, you hear at the point where she's like about to be sick, like when that happens, I think it's when you were doing the exorcisms, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, like that's when she really had the massive, but
yeah.
And I think because you hear and you see in Boston's voice and you see it on her face when she's discussing what she was hearing. And I'm just going to say, I am so jealous. I'm watching everybody do the Estes. Hero too, doing the Estes. I'm like, everybody gets words and I just get nothing. I just cannot hear the words. But she doesn't share. I don't know, Kris, if she really shared with you what she heard, but she says, like, I heard the most vile and violent things. How do you let those words go?
So I have a feeling what she heard at the end was what she said at the beginning.
Oh, okay.
I truly do. I think she was under, like, when I like you, I cannot hear anything ever in Estes. It's pointless for me to ever even try to do it. But Boston, when she goes under, it's something like I've never seen before. Like voice will change. She goes under, and extremely close friend, family. Basically, I trust everything she says. I 100% do. And when she says she doesn't remember anything from this one, where the other ones that she always did, I do think that the end things that she was saying was so vile were the things that were said at the beginning, and she just didn't realize she said them.
I will admit, when she first says, "I'm a baby," I was like, even you're like, when Kris turns around, because he's over there and he turns and looks at it, I was like, all right, that part got, I was like, whoa.
Well, that threw me right to the afternoon, because all I say is, and
Baby.
Kris, you too, like baby,
Yeah,
like
you too. I was getting annoyed with you both. I'm like, stop fucking calling it a baby. All right.
And to hear her say, as Kris is messing with the dolls and hearing, and it did seem like she was getting a couple people at the same time, because she was answering one way that seemed very adult, and then she'd have this other thing that would be like, no, I'm the baby. And especially when you were moving them, and where I went was, as soon as she said, I'm afraid, and you didn't say yet that you were putting him in the closet. And that's why all of a sudden I like shot back to the hotel room, and I was like, God, did I say that afternoon, that I felt like one of the dolls had been with somebody in a closet? And you said, like, all of a sudden she's just like, I'm afraid. Like, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
And the way she said it, and I was just like, so I don't know. I don't know.
That was the little doll with the blue dress, and I agree with you. I think one, we have our alpha one, then we had the timid one who would sometimes back up the alpha one and get tough after the alpha one would stand up, right? I got to send you the audio recording. It didn't come off good in the video, but on the EVP that you guys have, on the video, it's hard to hear, but you can hear it with headphones on in audition, clear as day. As soon as the one says not yet, you hear a completely different, almost childlike voice saying something like, "Are we getting in the box again?" Like, it's very faint and quiet, and when I heard it, it shook me, because it was a completely different voice, and that made me think of the two talking back and forth.
Yeah. Look, I didn't expect a damn thing when I put them in the box in the first place, or when we put them in the closet, and I'm like, they came. Now, thanks to Wade, I have more holy water than I'll ever need, I think.
You
but
hope.
there was the bottle was just sitting there, and I'm like, well, I'm just gonna give him a couple shots of it, right? So I talked to him and hit him. Then when we played that back, I don't think we listened to it more than 2 or 3 times in total since, right? So when you came back just the other day, and told me, because he didn't tell me the other things he heard on there until I think the day the video came, or the day before, I don't remember. I'm like, what? Right? Like, and I haven't gone back and listened to them. And I did the same thing with the last place I had crazy things happen with. So yeah, I mean, we still haven't. I haven't deleted it, but to hear that there were other things in there is good. And Kris is really good at catching EVP, finding the EVPs that are hidden in these recordings. So yeah, it's just been, I don't know. All I can say is thank you. All I can say is, if you haven't watched it, it's there's no bullshitting around. You can read them. If you can read the room, you can tell Rob was like, I really don't want these fucking things.
I didn't even realize, like, when we were in the hotel room and you were sitting there recording, I didn't realize you're literally like you look so like, and Kris and I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait to get in there and investigate.
Yeah. It reminded me, it was a little bit like bringing, when Ava was little, bringing her to like Chuck E. Cheese or somewhere I just didn't want to be, so she could play. And I'm just like, And it's not that I'm afraid of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, after watching, what happened with Dani, after my own stuff, I'm like, I don't want to see it happen to anybody else, right? And like, I know Sara doesn't provoke, but she likes also to sort of push the line a little bit, right? And Kris, I'm feeling bad. I know these fuckers are staying in your room, and I'm like, all right, you guys, that's fun. So yes, during in the video you see me, I'm just like holding the recorder. You could have got a better angle of me, by the way.
Well, that's what's so funny. And then you moved over to the bed, and Kris and I were with the dolls, and just every time we would do something, you're just like, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that.
Yeah. So anybody that thinks that I don't have reverence or respect or any of that, it's not it, right? I do, but I also don't tell my friends what or how to investigate. So.
Yeah, Kris and I probably should never be left alone, like to do something.
Like we've thought about this since we ever investigated together. She likes to go off alone and explore and investigate. I'm like, nope. A, you can get hurt, which she has. She's fallen downstairs in both buildings. But B, you just don't know, right? You just don't know. So. Yeah, I mean, we didn't know, and we still don't know exactly what the story is with these dolls. What I can say is that how we got them is strange. I still don't have an answer. The only real answer I got was we don't want to bring this energy into our new home, which should have been a big fucking red flag, right? I should have been like, what does that mean, right?
Kris, will you try to get anything out of him?
I've tried.
Oh, he won't talk to you.
No.
He read it.
So he has a couple weeks. If he's watching this and wants to talk and be a part of the story, please. I need answers. Because I have, I just got to go off of the stuff. I've sent out responses. I've seen them read. I got to go off of what my thoughts are to make this.
That's like, Dani, does that make you feel, because it's somebody you know as well, does that does that make you feel a certain way to hear like that this person?
I mean, I've been trying to think like, well, did he have experiences of his own with these, and does he know how to because honestly, if I wouldn't have had Rob to pull me out of my situation, I wouldn't know how to handle any of that, and I would last resort, if I'm not gonna walk away from life, I'm gonna try to just hand them off to somebody, you know what I mean? So it's like I can see if he just needed an out for it. I don't know that I can blame him for that, because I don't know what I would have done.
Yeah, and that is a scary thought to think, Dani. Had you lived alone with these items and maybe not have somebody recognize okay, she's not being, because you weren't ready to admit it. You might have known things were going down, but you might not be ready to admit I need help. So, and would they allow you to go into that headspace, right? So I'm curious, if had you not, and I think that's what was scary for Kris, and that's why I was mad at him Saturday morning at breakfast. Bro, you could have, I kept checking my phone throughout the night. But no. So he reaches out to the deaf guy in the middle of the night. He doesn't reach out to me. He reaches out to the deaf guy in the middle of the night.
If you message me while I'm sleeping, you guys are got a call.
Listen, but their roommate will freaking hear it. Okay, let me just tell you.
But I was I did, and then finally the last time
3 in the morning.
The last time I checked was 6:30 in the morning, and I'm like, all right, I guess he's fine. And then I sort of wake up to hearing emphatic talking in the hallway, and I'm like, what's going on? And Kris had a bad night, and it's oh, so he doesn't reach out to me. I was genuinely mad at breakfast.
He was.
And I gotta be super honest. I didn't even know that he had reached out to Rob at 4 a.m. until this show. So thanks a lot.
Oh no.
Yeah.
In all fairness, I don't know if it was me. I think it was Boston in a group chat.
No.
No. I checked group chat. That's where I would have thought you would have messaged, and that's why I was like, so no, he went ahead and messaged Rob. I see. Okay. All right.
trying to find.
I didn't want to.
Thank you, Boston. Thank you, I know Boston made sure we were on top of things. Like she's like, look, Kris is doing this right now. You need to go. Or
Kris has been twitching for the last 3 hours.
But what I will encourage everybody, if you haven't watched it, seriously watch it. And then what I'm going to say, if you have watched it and you're going to watch it after this live, please share this link out.
Yes,
share
please.
The link out. Let's get some views on this. Like, honest to God, if you are truly an investigator, if you are truly an enthusiast, if you are so curious, I'm going to tell you something. This is not meant for pure entertainment of, oh, we're going to put cute little, faces and, oh, it's not that, folks. This is truly a look into what does happen when you finally sort of stumble upon the thing that you go out actively looking for. And from all different perceptions and beliefs and experiences. What's that?
Jumped 22 views since the show started.
Yeah, there you go. So I think that's an important thing. I think we have to stop watching the paranormal as a sense of entertainment and cuteness, right? There are those moments, and that's great. I think that's amazing. But what Kris really pulled off here, and this was not planned. I don't think, Kris, you, and I know you really worked hard and gave this a lot of time and thought, is that this happened. This was not something that anybody expected to happen. Dani making her vulnerable video to what sort of turned into this, to the like all these pieces just fell into place. So share it out, subscribe, help get the word out, because for all those that say they're super into investigating and researching, you should watch it.
Yeah.
That's my soapbox for the day. So.
Yeah, go watch it. Or otherwise you're a big jerk. How about that?
What is it, you're a Daisy?
That's going to be my tagline. Watch my videos or you're a big jerk.
Big jerk.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Kris, we were so excited about this video and we couldn't wait. We were like, let's just go live. Like, let's talk about it. And I think
I appreciate it.
Hopefully this will sort of spawn some more shows, right? Some other podcasts to go watch, or you're a jerk. That's right. All capitals too. All capitals.
Yeah. Here's what I'll say. For the first time ever in history, because you launched it at 3:00 and we had to leave to get to an event that was 2 hours away, we were late as fuck. We were late. So that was the first time I've ever
It was so worth it.
Oh, it was the first time I've been late to an event, and I just told everybody that was at the event. Oh, I lied to them last night. So
now they know.
Now they know. Well, we wouldn't have been late if we didn't get stuck behind like a hay baler that was 30 feet wide, and we couldn't get around it doing 4 miles.
Did you say the Amish were out? You're like, the Amish were out.
He also got yelled at by an old lady. So.
Oh, I upset a very old lady yesterday. Yesterday was upset a priest and upset an old lady day. I'm sorry.
But let's not upset Kris. Let's get this video out there. Let's get the views up. And I honestly, I do. And let's have some conversations. I mean, I think the village would be a great opportunity, Kris. Like, hey, everybody watch that video and come out to Auglaize, because there's hundreds of acres and at least 22 buildings. So we've got space, and we could have conversations, and we could do experiments right alongside of those conversations as we go.
Yeah. Let's do that.
All right. So Boston, I just want to put this out there real quick. Listen.
It sounds like a bad joke.
Some of us, I know, priest and an old lady.
Walk into a bar.
Yep.
I don't know what happens as we get older, but eventually there comes a point where when you don't just get to do whatever you want to do in a vehicle. There's still laws. The laws don't expire at 70. Sorry.
She may not. She maybe shouldn't have been behind the wheel.
What?
She shouldn't have been behind her
no,
wheel.
She shouldn't. And so she just decided she was just going to park somewhere in the middle. This is after somebody parked so close to my car that I could barely get into it after we ate a whole pizza, which we left in the car. And it sounds really good right now. But Well, I just gave her a little, a little horn action.
Oh, Jesus.
I gave her a little toot. And then she proceeded to drive half the speed limit, and I guess I was too close to her.
And then by the time we turned, she gave the "if looks could kill."
How many toots did he give her, Dani?
It was like his average of like maybe 3, 4. Like,
did you shave in a haircut or just
almost?
Yeah, the whole way. No, look, we had somewhere to be, and
oh, I'm sorry.
Do
we not remember Timber Hawkeye's lesson?
Yeah, Sara and I. This was one of our
biggest fights.
It's rare that we fight.
The left lane thing. That one.
What's that? Yeah.
When he talks about the left lane.
Yep.
Yeah. No, he's wrong on that one. I'm sorry. He's so wrong on that one.
No, not.
No, not you, Hawkeye. He's wrong on that one.
Yeah.
Left lane is for fast. You don't go 30 miles an hour in the left lane.
Gosh, you guys, I cannot believe you two, out of anybody, are going to disagree with Timber Hawkeye when you have experience, when you have experiences that you both have now had the blessing or the curse to have. And you're not going to give that same opportunity to somebody in the left lane. Wow.
No.
Wow.
You can get back over to the right lane and you want to do 30 miles an hour, go back in the right lane. Like there's no excuse.
Left lanes for passing and speeding.
Oh, but and I'm not going to joke. Like a year later, we were in a car going somewhere, and she brought it back up because there was a situation happening where it was
somebody was getting on him, and I said, "Oh, isn't that interesting?" So. Yeah.
Yeah, she had to bring it back up. And this is straight from retired Elio right there. He's saying, if you're not breaking the law, get out of the left lane.
That's not what, see how you guys are making excuses? That's not what Timber's saying. He's saying sometimes you don't know what's going on in somebody's life.
Right.
And you guys want to fight that. You guys want to fight that everybody needs to get the hell out of the left lane. That's what you guys want to fight.
I think what really should be said is if you got someone going on in your life, you shouldn't be in the left lane.
You should be in the right lane.
Yes.
Listen, I don't know if anybody's ever been out for a nice, nice Mexican meal. Steak.
I think Kris is drinking out of a Taco Bell cup right now.
Yeah. So. A few burritos. And you got to get home sometimes. Sometimes you just got to get home quickly.
So that's the shit lane? Is that what you're saying?
It's an emergency. It's an emergency. Especially if you don't have leather.
All right. I think I'm super excited for part 2. Kris, thank you. Once again, you in Boston, wildly creative, so talented. This
so good.
I don't know if this is something, you do such great work in so many different genres, but will this be something you see yourself doing in the future? Could you see yourself doing more of this in the future?
I really enjoyed this project. Yeah.
Yeah. Good. I'm so glad because this is, I think you open the door to YouTube creators really crossing over into, you really, to me, you did it well. You crossed right into the paranormal, offering the paranormal conversations to expand instead of making it this cutesy little video of, the demons are out to get us. You really do sort of dive into what are those demons. And I appreciate that as somebody that likes those deeper conversations. So kudos to you in Boston for bridging that gap. You actually did it. In my opinion, you bridged that gap.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're a gap bridger, bro.
Oh my!
He's done. And Dani, and thank you for sharing such a vulnerable and deep moment that affected you. And you share it with your emotion. Not just with your words, but you truly do. You haven't changed your story. Your emotion is still there. And I think this is one of those things that I think, Rob, you said it at the very beginning. This this is something that this resonates with somebody or some buddies out there, and, you know, to step up and speak or dig a little deeper or to realize that they're in a bad situation. I think that you said it in your video. I mean, you just don't know who this is going to help. And I think that's huge. So thank you for that, Dani.
Boston, your piece
Thank
is
you
critical.
guys, though. Like, you have been so supportive to literally everything. Like, you never once questioned, am I making something? You were just like, this is her experience. So thank you, seriously, for being there for me as my support. Like, all three of you have been the most supportive people in this whole thing. So thank you.
Yeah, Boston, good job. Amazing job to you. I mean, your piece is critical. Like, to me, like, one of the more frightening moments in all of this thing, like, not frightening, but it was like, holy shit.
The validation was frightening.
Yeah,
yes,
like,
it was for
Boston,
Dani, for Kris.
Like,
yes,
huge part of this. So, shit.
Yeah,
all right,
Boston, thank you for even doing that. That's a lot for someone even to take on, who's even though you weren't physically with the dolls, you still became a huge part of that. So and you felt it just as much. So thank you.
Yeah, I showed him a lot of different editing tricks, and you know how.
Yeah, he needs that. He needs a lot of help in that area.
It's hard juggling all this, right? And teaching him everything. It's just
Well, get watching part 1 because you heard it about mid-ish July, a date special to Kris. Part 2 is coming out, and this is a whole. I don't remember much, I guess, but the way Kris is saying it, this is going to show now another side to what Dani and Kris did personal. Now it's taken to an event, and what happens there. Let's see what he captured.
Yeah, I'm not even sure. Like, I don't even. Yeah,
it's got some good stuff.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what you did find, because I never go back and look at everybody's evidence, so I'm not even sure what Kris has. So I am, especially during the human pendulum, I don't remember. Rob's done. He's showing toys. So with that, that's the tooth. That's the shark tooth.
This is a heartbreaker. If this tooth was full, she'd be like a $3,000 tooth.
Oh.
Look at that. It's almost 7 inches.
Oh my God, grow.
Right.
All right.
It's the only time he'll ever have 7 inches.
All right. Well, with that, we're going to let you guys get back to your resting and relaxing Sunday. Please watch part 1 of the Evil 3. Share it out. Please let's see that shared out and get some views going on that, because this video is incredible. And with that, we're going to let you get back to Sunday. We have a new week ahead. So here comes July, folks. And don't forget, July 26th, All Glaze Village in Defiance, Ohio. Head over to gethaunted.com or Extreme Ticketing. Let's see those tickets pop up too, because it sounds like maybe Kris is going to be there. So
I'll be there.
All right. Well, let's see Defiance get haunted, right? Let's get it haunted. So with that, have a good afternoon, and we will check you guys later.